good to have you guys with us again. We're going to look at family sharing today. Um, you know, there's so many mistakes people make when it comes to putting together the Apple IDs on their devices, and a lot of people think that family sharing is only for people that have small kids. Um, but it's not the case. I've seen with so many of my clients that's retired, you know, and then the mistake they make is they will share one single Apple ID. And with that comes all the confusion because it's sharing of contacts, of calendars, of so many things that the people don't want on the devices. And then somebody like Angela must come along and explain to them what the benefit of family sharing is, and then try to clean up as much as possible before we can actually start doing it. So hopefully you guys haven't made that mistake, and if you haven't, you're at the right place, and yeah, you can see and thoroughly understand the benefits of having family sharing being set up on your devices. Anyway, so with me saying that, let's start off with I built a quick presentation to give you guys an understanding in terms of how it is built up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen with you. When it comes to family sharing, so basically the understanding of it, right? So first of all, family sharing can share up to um, subscriptions for up to 6 people, right? And these subscriptions can range from having Apple Music subscription, Apple TV Plus, Arcade, and if news or Apple News Plus is available to South Africa, hopefully, then we will also be able to share that through family sharing. But besides all of that, we can also share our App Store purchases as well as our iCloud storage, right? And we're going to look at that in more detail. Now, let's look at it from the organizer's point of view. Now, when it comes to the organizer, um, you can do a little bit of more things. So first of all, he's in charge of the settings as well as the features of your iCloud, right? And not only that, but he can also set up a children's account. So if the child is 13 years, or sorry, younger than 13 years, then he can actually create and add in that child account to a family sharing account. So basically, in essence, what you'll have is the organizer can set up to 5 different individuals on a family on a family shared account. Okay, and all of these accounts have their own Apple IDs, right? And of course, any future purchases will be then taken off from the organizer's account, right? With the exception of the children's account, which the organizer has certain control over. So again, as I mentioned before, the subscriptions are all shared amongst the different recipients within that within the family sharing. However, the the information or data that belongs to that particular individual, like your photos, your messages, as well as your files, are all private still within the user within that family sharing. So none of the stuff is basically shared outside of what you're sharing, put it that way. Okay. Now, let's look more closely at the child account. Now, as I mentioned before, yes, any future purchases will go out from the organizer's account. However, when it comes to the child's account, there's a little bit more control that the organizer has. And the first one is ask to buy, right? So they cannot just go and purchase. It will go to the organizer or the parent or guardian that the organizer has been set up um, to actually give approval to the request of the purchase of the child. right? Not only that, but you also have other parental controls, which is found under screen time. Now we've done a little bit of screen time, or a lot of screen time the last time, but we're going to look into it a little bit more when we look at the setup of this. Okay. Now, coming to the iCloud storage. Now, iCloud storage you can share for from 200 gigs and upwards. So there's a 200 gig tier as well as the 2 terabyte tier. So the 200 gig tier, you can then share amongst your recipients, and the storage will be filled as you're going along. But you can also increase the storage up to 2 terabyte as mentioned earlier. And that storage can also be filled, but nobody can see what that recipient is putting on the storage, but they can see how much storage that recipient is filling up, right? So that is when it comes down to the iCloud storage. Now, now another awesome service about the family sharing is also the ability um, to see where the different people are within the family sharing, and this is under the Find My app, right? Now, under the Find My app, the people can specify if they are if people can locate them, or if they can switch on their location settings for that purpose, and then they will appear on the Find My. But not only do they appear on the map, but also do their devices that they are working with, right? So these things will also appear within the Find My app. So even when devices go missing, you as being part of the family sharing can also assist with the retrieval of those devices. Okay. So those are in a nutshell, everything that can be found within the iCloud sharing. I mean, the family sharing, let me get the terminology right. Now that we've now have some sort of an understanding of how the iCloud sharing works, let's look at the setup of this. So I'm going to be working from two devices. I'm going to be working from my Mac as well as my iPhone to give you guys the experience on both. So now, when it comes to the Mac, we will go to our system preferences, into our profile, and in our profile right at the top, you'll see this family sharing. And under the family sharing, you will have the different services, right? I'm just waiting for my details to show up. There we go. And yeah, you can see that I'm the organizer. There's my other half is just set up as an adult, and there's my son. Now, if I look here, set up as an adult, I didn't actually mean for that to happen. I'm just going to make some changes. Let me first go to the details. So if I go to details on my side, it just now will show me that that um, that yeah, the ask to buy has been set up for Hunter, my son. But I also want to do it for my wife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually switch her over to be a parent guardian for this one. And I could also remove her from the family sharing uh, for whatever reason. I can take her off. So I can just click on done on that one. Now, when it comes to adding people, right? Oh, let me not jump the gun. As you can see, that it's now changed to parent guardian. So now, if the request from Hunter comes through that she wants to make a purchase, it will the approval will not only come to me, but now to Chantal as well. Now, next door to my details is all of my, beg your pardon, in my sidebar is the options that I have. When it comes to purchase sharing, you can actually access all purchases. You won't be able to access it from here, but this is actually done through the App Store. So if you go to the App Store and I click on my profile, right? And under my profile, you will see that there's purchased by Angelo, Chantal, and Hunter. And if I go to Chantal, I can now see their purchases. I can download these items. As you can see, these items are not on my device. And I can easily just re-download those ones. Now, going back here, iCloud sharing. Again, you can share storage, but it must be from 200 gig onwards. So far, my son is quite small, so he's hardly using any of the storage, and my wife is okay on her own. So I'm now on the 50 gigs still, as you can see. But if I click on upgrade, then she will also be able to use my 200 gig storage, right? Location sharing, those are all turned on for all individuals. As you can see here, I can turn it off at any given point. I can turn it off on my Mac as well as on my iPhone, but this is now where I can turn it on and off. Screen time, which we have looked at earlier on, and you can look at the previous video if you want to go into more detail with screen time. This is where we can actually see how much time is being spent by the device of your child. Okay, it won't show the screen time of adults. Now, if I go to open screen time, it's going to take me straight to the screen time setting where it will show your profile, but will also, if you go down to your child's profile, it will give you now access to your child's profile where you can set up downtime. Now, this is the time when you want your child away from the screen, right? So you can then put it up for every day from which time to which time must be totally downtime, or you can put it up um, for custom dates. So if I go to setting up of screen time, it's just asking me now to put in the passcode. So I'm just gonna put in. So now I can set up for each and every day different times for my downtime. And I can also specify that the devices must be blocked during downtime. Okay. I can also add in app limits to this and so on. But I'm not going to go into more detail with this, guys. As I mentioned, we've covered this in the previous lesson. So you can check it out on those videos. I'm just going to go back quickly. Now, about our subscriptions. Now, like Alan took a little bit of my thunder away from me earlier on, because when it comes to the subscriptions, guys, like Alan, I used to spend at least about 150 Rand to 200 bucks every month just on buying music, right? um, when Apple Music came out, I was like, maybe it's a gimmick. I went for the trial the first 2 months and I fell in love with it, and I've never ever gone back ever again. 89 Rand a month for up to 5 members, right? Subscription for Apple Music, and it's set up through the family sharing. So if your family sharing is set up and you purchase the family sharing or the Apple Music family package, then it makes it possible then for all of your family members to be able to download up to however much music that they want to, through as long as they're within that subscription. So this is now just of the subscriptions. Same with Apple TV Plus, and the same with Apple Arcade. Now that you guys see what the interface looks like, let's look at how we can add individuals on. So now if I click on the plus, I'm just going to add in, you know what, I'm actually in good standing with my mother-in-law, so I think I'm going to actually add her in. So now I'm going to go continue. Yeah, I'm one of those rare son-in-laws, you know, that love their mother-in-law. Go figure. So yeah, I have to now put in my card number, and now I have to put in her Apple ID password. So you know, if that doesn't work, I can just send the invitation and she will accept it. Let's see if it's gonna work if I do it this way. So now she's added on. So she's going to have all the benefits of having the Apple Music at the disposal. She will be able to download the apps that we have purchased in the past. and but still being able to have her stuff private. Okay, so let's just quickly see. The code didn't come through. Sometimes there's a delay with Apple. If the code doesn't come through, then I'm just going to continue on through the iPhone with setting up a child account. No, it's not coming through as yet, so I'll pause that one there for so long because I do want to add her on. So I'm just going to switch over to my phone for now. Okay, so now onto the phone, and I'm going to minimize this one, guys. Now, when it comes to the phone or to your iOS or even your iPad OS, where you do your family sharing is against also on your profile, right? On the profile, you will go to family sharing, as you can see at the bottom. I've not added my mother-in-law as yet. I'm still waiting for that verification code to come through, but as soon as it comes through, then you will see her name being added here by the family sharing as well. So if I go to family sharing, and this time around, I'm going to add in a child account. Okay. So I'm going to tap in add family member. And yeah, I can just uh, um, click on the create a child account. Now, again, it's 13 years old is the limit. So this will automatically add a child account to your family until child is at least 13 years old. The use ask to buy requires approval from iTunes, Apple Books, and App Store purchases. So I'm just going to click on next there. And yeah, I'm just going to put in the birth date of the child. Just going to use my niece's one quickly. Apologies, I now scroll down too far. And next. And I'm going to agree. And you have to put in my CVV number in again, because purchases will be done through her account. And yeah, put in her name, which is Mackenzie Martin. So I'm gonna give it a name which is unique. I'm gonna go with Mackenzie X Martin. There we go. And next, let's see if that's gonna work. Create. So I'm just gonna give her a password and next. And now I have to go through the security questions. Good. Ask to buy, definitely on. We do want that on. We say next. And share location, most definitely. Okay, and agree. So now that she's been added to my family, okay, so now you can see there's Mackenzie set up on my device, and everything else will apply to her as being applied to the rest of my family. She can now ask to buy as well, and you can see that here at the bottom under my shared features, I can turn off certain things like my purchase sharing. It's now switched off. I'll just switch that on. Set up purchase sharing. Hopefully it's going to go and smoothly here. It's not going to give me any hiccups. Close. Done. Awesome. That's beautiful. My location setting is switched on. My screen time, Apple Music is switched on. So now they have access to all of those items. Now I can now go into my the next item that we looked at earlier on. Again, I can do the same thing as what I've done on my Mac. I can go to my screen time. Okay, now if I want to switch accounts, you can see there's Mackenzie and Hunter. I can go to Hunters, set up these downtime, set up the app limits. Guys, one thing which I might not have covered in the previous screen time settings, you can also, if I tap on app limit, you can also in here set up the different websites your child is able to access, okay, on their devices within the family sharing. So you can make it as airtight as possible, and even set up the you can disable for all games, or you can go into the category. Just or you can tap on the downwards arrow, which will expand the list. And then you can select the games that they are able to play within the, or that they were able to use within the app limits. Okay. Now that we have an understanding of how we can actually do this on the phone, on the iOS device, let me just look at the last item, guys. I know we're over our time, but just one more thing, which is my Find My option. So now if I go to Find My app, and under the Find My app, you would see now that I have the devices, but below at the bottom, I've got people. Yeah. So I can go to people, and there I can see there are my different recipients, and it shows me exactly where those different people are. Okay, and I can click on Chantal now. I can see where she's at. As you can see, we a lot of Afrikaans names, you know, as we are in the middle of the Boerewors triangle, as you can see. So there we go. Um, Also, I can look at the devices, right? So it shows me my devices. It shows Chantal's devices, Hunter broke all of his devices, so we can't see it now because it's still in repair. Thank goodness for the lockdown. So yeah, we can now access these devices. We can see exactly where they are, right? So you can even track down your the people's devices within your family share. So guys, the same you can do on your Mac as well. Remember, on if you've got running Catalina, you also have the Find My app on your Mac. And on your Mac, you will also have the same layout. In fact, I find the Mac one actually a bit more interesting. Pardon? Because yeah, and, on the Mac one, you've got a little bit more of screen real estate to play with. So yeah, you can actually see your devices, the different people, and so on. And guys, that is everything about family sharing that I can cover with you for today. The panel is now open for questions. Any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I haven't set up family sharing because my account goes back in the day when you couldn't buy anything in South Africa. So my account was a UK account, and I've never let it go. So Andrea's looks after the family sharing account. But I was under the impression, so my experience is really poor. I was under the impression that you could also create a shared calendar as well. Is that done automatically, or is there a way of doing it so you can have a family calendar that everybody can subscribe to?
When it comes to the calendar side of things, it's not done through the family sharing. It's just those options that you have. When it comes to the calendar side, can you still see my screen, sir?
Yeah. Oh no, can't see your screen.
Okay. When it comes to the calendar side, you still have to manually control this and set it up, right? So
Okay.
let me just quickly go to my share screen. So when it comes to calendars, then you have to manually create a calendar and, well, share it with your family members or with anybody for that matter. So it's not governed within the family sharing.
So
So
that family account that's in there under iCloud, did you make that, or was it made automatically?
the family account in iCloud, the one that I've done right in the beginning.
No. Here in your calendar on the left-hand side.
On the left-hand side.
Yeah, look under
Yeah,
iCloud,
I
the
made
third
that
one down.
manually.
You made that, okay.
Yeah, I made that manually. Yeah.
I make
So
sure okay.
what I've done was, guys, I just went and I made a new calendar. I made it under iCloud, because remember, under iCloud is the only place where you can create a shared calendar. You can't do it with Google. You can't do it with Exchange. Nothing like that. So so you have to do it via your iCloud calendar. So I create a new calendar. As you can see, it's untitled. I'm going to call this DGK fans. Okay. I should have said DigiCape supporter. But then now if I go in there, I can, you see there's a little symbol that comes up there. There, right? So I just move my mouse pointer there, that symbol. If I click on it, I can now make a private share, or I can make it a public share where I'll send a link out for people to subscribe to that one. Private shares where you just type in the people's email addresses. So say for instance, I want Chantal to share this calendar with me, right? And the benefit of this, guys, is that all of your personal calendar stays yours, right? The biggest mistake a lot of my clients make is because they want to share calendars, they end up giving the Apple ID to their wife, and then they've got all these different calendars with their calendars as well, where you can actually just share one particular calendar between you and the people in your household, or even your assistant and so on, right? And that's how you keep the men separate from the boys.
I just want to find out, and I apologize if this was dealt with already. The age limit, I think, is 13. Am I correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So what happens once your child turns 13? Does it automatically deactivate the settings and disable them from a family share account?
No, they still remain within the family share. It is just that now they are able to actually change the Apple ID, the email of the Apple ID. They are able to make changes to that. So say for instance, they want to now not be under the school's or they don't want to be under the Apple ID that you created, but they've now got their own email and they want to assign that as the Apple ID, then they can do that.
Okay, so
Or then they are locked within that.
all right. So
the downside is that you can no longer buy things for them. So I'd encourage them to stay inside there.
well, that's what I'm asking. So unless I did, look, they can create a new Apple ID. I understand that because they are now age appropriate according to Apple, whatever, not according to the parent. But anyway,
according to the law.
According to the law. So they can create their own Apple ID, but unless I deactivate them, they will remain on my family profile.
Yeah, remember, I've had a situation. Sorry to cut your word here, Louise. I just wanted to tell you the story. A client of mine, her son turned 16, and what happened was he was actually able. He was no longer monitored under screen time. You know, the screen time setting totally fell away for him. So as a 13-year-old, they can make changes to that, but they will still fall within your family sharing, and they will still be able to, you'll still be able to see the screen time activity irrespective. So until the age of 16, they will fall away. They will be deemed as adult, basically.
Adult. Oh, okay. All right. There's obviously nothing we can do about that. No, that's great. Okay, that's all I had to ask. Thanks.
Sure.
And Angelo, yes, thank you. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed that. Look, I've never ever had a need for this at all, but I find it fascinating and probably won't use it. But on the other hand, I'm actually also trying to see the benefit. It's just my wife and I, so we could both share, I guess. But I have no need for that at the moment. But would it automatically? Would I be able to sort of know automatically where my wife's phone? Well, my wife is, and therefore track the phone. Or is that part of the program, or is that, because that I see as a benefit is if the phone was get left somewhere, then she could phone me and say, look, where's my phone on the screen? Does that work?
Definitely. Look, Michael, if it's not for any of the other benefits, the subscriptions, the Apple sorry, Apple TV Plus and so on. I would say that major thing, component, especially us while living in the wild west, where ESCOM pulls the plug on us anytime and just say load shedding. We want that benefit of where we can track where our loved ones are, and keep in mind with Catalina and iOS 13, you can actually track somebody's device even if they are offline, guys.
Wow. Okay.
If I can, sorry, Ange, if I can add to that, Michael, you don't have to turn on family sharing to do Find My. The difference is because if you don't have family sharing on, then Find My is something that two consenting adults can ask each other to share. You can say, okay, I want to share my location with you. The benefit of family sharing is it's done automatically.
I get it.
From your and your wife's perspective, though, the one benefit possibly is that you can share any purchases that you've made with up to 6 individuals under your family sharing account. So if you decide to buy an application on your iPad that costs 250 Rand, for example, and she decides she wants it as well, if you don't have family sharing turned on, she spends 250 Rand. If you have family sharing on, you can just share your rights to run it with her. That's a really, that's a pretty good reason to do it.
Thank you. That answers my question. Yeah, thank you.
Just on that, may I ask one further question?
Sure.
Does it just on that family sharing, and I've now purchased an app. If it's on family sharing, then does my husband have to manually request, or do they download it automatically onto their device? So, for instance, if I've got PDF Adobe Acrobat that I've just purchased on my Apple MacBook Pro, and my husband
you missed that part of it, and you'll see that in the video. But if you go into the App Store, you'll see all of the accounts and all the purchases under those.
Okay, so he would just download it and not have to pay for it, but it won't automatically load onto his thing. Okay, no, that's great.
You're still in control of your own world, but it's just that you're in control within your own world, but you've all the benefits of taking from those around you.
And
John?
with, sorry, last one. And then with the iTunes, so we've got family sharing on the iTunes. I've activated that. With my daughter, if she signs into her own iTunes account, does she have access to all the music that I've downloaded as well automatically, or does she have to add it on?
She's still within her own perimeter, right? So it keeps your library, because keep in mind, with Apple Music comes what they call iCloud Music Library, right? So your music library that you have purchased on your iPhone, on your Mac, on your iPad, all falls into basically making you the center of your universe when it comes to your music. So all of your devices will have the same music. The same with her daughter, because her daughter has her own Apple ID with her stuff. So you guys can't see each other's music libraries, but you can, which is a benefit to it all, because you don't want to have her music with yours with hers, and so on. So,
in addition to that, the Apple Music uses machine learning to understand the type of music that you listen to. And so when you go into Apple Music and it surfaces the music, you don't necessarily want, I don't know, a 13-year-old's taste in music being surfaced as something that you might want to listen to, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sean, you had a question?
Sorry, hi. I just wanted to check something with you, Angelo. When you were showing us a screen with Chantal's name and your name and your son's name, and you gave her permission to authorize as well. So one of the things, we've got family sharing set up, and I'm the administrator, but at the moment I'm the only one, if my son needs to add anything, that gets that second line authentication. Was I correct that I saw there that you set Chantal up, so the request to add something goes to both of you, and whoever responds to it will then put it on the child's iPad. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. It will go to both, and whoever accepts it, well, you know, yeah.
Perfect.
Mind you, me, one of you guys can also say cancel, right? And it will say to the other person that it's been cancelled by the guardian, you know. So, which is pretty cool, because then you and your husband can fight it out if or not. So yes, beautiful people, I would say it's really a huge benefit. Really a huge benefit.
Okay.
Any other questions?
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you here as usual. Let's have a lovely day. It's cold, wet Cape Townian morning, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Thanks all.
Bye, people.
Bye. Take care, everyone.